Hello, everybody. My name is Thodoros Tsamurdzis. I'm from a tech cluster in Thessaloniki, and I'll be doing this little small workshop about continuity plan, how it works, and more specifically, what we will require from those that are going to apply to it for the lump sum at the Be Resilient program. Okay, some generalities about the Be Resilient project. It is a project that belongs to the Eurocluster's call. It is focused on maximizing the use of available feedstock and the valorization of side streams into bio-based ingredients. What we offer under the Be Resilient lump sums are four actually types: the mobility, the business continuity plan lump sum, the innovation lump sum, and the internationalization lump sum. So today we are going to deal only with the business continuity plan. So let's begin from the start. We'll begin from the business continuity management issue, which is an holistic management process that identifies potential impacts that threaten an organization and provides, of course, the framework for building the resilience and the capacity to effectively respond to any to its key stakeholders while we have an issue in the business continuity. That's why we insist, and we are going to see later on as well on the text, that this must be owned and be a fully integrated document in an organization. It will aim to provide organizations resilience, and is particularly concerned with the organization-wide resilience that allows an organization to survive the loss of any part of its operational capability. That's why the business resilience depends on its management and operational staff. It is the responsibility of the senior management for the long-term interest of the staff, customers, and all those that depend on the organization in some way. You can imagine what can come out if any disruption in the business line will occur, both to customers as to its staff. And the most important thing is that the business continuity plan will provide all this continuity that will allow not to damage the reputation or losing the trust to the company that might come from mismanaging any incident. And what these incidents, these disruptions might be, we see that could be we divide them in 4 different categories. It is either the people issue, can be any people issue. Suddenly your head of quality control or your head of export sales departures for another company, and you have to deal with that, or the pandemics, which was an important issue on the business continuity of a lot of enterprises, a sudden illness and issues related to people. It might be a disruption due to a physical phenomenon like an earthquake or a flood or a fire of your facilities. It might be related to your suppliers, the suppliers of your raw materials or your biomass in our case. And it could be also an issue, a disruption related to technology, like a cyber attack or a power failure that doesn't allow you to produce your products the way you want. So the process of doing that is called business continuity planning. It is a whole, it's a big part, this concept and a big part of the business in any company. And is the planning to assure the continuation of operations in the event of a catastrophic event. This is the most important thing that we have to keep in mind. In our biomass resilience, we are going to see later on that we are not talking about a catastrophic event, but we're looking to the loss of the process, the whole process. So what we actually is, the business continuity plan is a document that consists of all this critical information that we've been talking previously, that an organization needs in order to continue its operations during any unplanned event. Okay, it is related to as you see, it is related to management, it's related to planning, to your procedures. The resilience of and the business continuity has to deal with all these processes. Now, how we develop a business continuity plan, there are four main pillars in the way that you're going to build your business continuity plan. You have to think, first of all, of the prevention. That means that you do all your risk management planning. You incorporate this prevention element in your planning, because from there you're going to do what? You're going to do your business impact analysis, and that means that you have to see how all these potential risks are going to impact your business, your different operations. Then, by finding the responses on this business impact analysis, you'll find you're going to build up your incident response plan, and then the recovery plan. So those are the four processes incorporated in the business continuity plan. As you see, I'm giving you below some hints of documents that you can find in the internet if you're looking for more information concerning the business continuity plan. This is the process that we are talking. The four stages: prevention, preparedness, response, recovery. And the most important thing is that you are not going to make your continuity plan once and put it in the shelf. You have to rehearse and maintain and review it because the conditions are changing very often, and sometimes without even planning on them. You have to, for example, you can count the war in Ukraine last year, or how logistics were affected with the pandemic and the close of the ports in China, raising the prices of logistics costs, of travel costs for materials by 3 or 4 or 5 times, or even more. Or the increase in electricity prices that hit Europe last year. Those are things that you need to keep always in mind, that need to be rehearsed and reviewed regularly in your business plan. That's why we require that the business continuity plan should be a vivid document of your company, and not something that you leave on yourself, on the shelf. This is again a different way of defining the business continuity process. And the the framework behind that, the strategic framework behind that is that you begin with the business analysis, you do your recovery strategies, you plan your development, and you test your exercises. Those areas that are identified as being key to effective business continuity planning are general and probably the table of the content table of your business continuity plan should be taking in consideration 10 different things: how the project is initiated and who the management is that takes responsibility for it, the risk evaluation and control, that is the predefinition of the risks that you might face as a company, your business impact analysis, so you see what is critical and how these risks affect your critical processes. Then you are going to develop your business continuity strategies, what you're going to do in order to continue run your critical operations. That may be changing suppliers if it is a supply issue, and how fast you can do that in order to reduce your risk in an important matter, and you continue your operations. See what are the emergency response and on the operations, develop and implement your business continuity plan. Make this available to your staff, do some training plans with them so that they know what to do whenever occurs anything from a breakdown, a sudden breakdown in the processes, in the production processes, to a fire, to an earthquake, to issues like that. So they need to be trained to do and respond quickly in order to avoid excess risks. As we said before, maintain and exercise your business continuity plan. It should be a vivid document. An important part is do your public relations and the crisis coordination. Those that are older might remember of the Sevedo crisis in India, what happened and how they didn't react in time and created a huge crisis. And this is important for your brand and for your company's good name to be continued. And you have to coordinate some things with public authorities as well when it is related to physical destruction. What are the benefits of owning a BCP? The most important thing is that you minimize long-term impacts to your company. You maintain a positive reputation, which is, for me, it is as important as continuing your operations. You protect your brand, and of course, you continue you're trying to continue as soon and as best as possible the work of the process of your company of producing your products. This is an example of a business impact assessment as it is given by the British standards. It follows, as you see, it has questions that have been asked against your people, your premises, your processes, your providers of your raw materials, and the profile of the company. And the following pages as well give you how this looks like and what every department should fill in based on the risks that that department faces. So if we begin focusing a little bit more on food producing and food processing companies in order to focus on the biomass, the issue is the following. We have the business continuity issues that facing food manufacturers are of two types. One has to do loss prevention, and one has to deal after any disaster. And the disaster could be a flood, could be an earthquake, could be a fire, and both involve internal and external measures that a company needs to take. And we have to take in consideration that the food and producing and processing industries are quite unique because they depend on machinery, raw materials, and in their employees to operate at optimal levels. Okay, so the business continuity plan should focus on these needs in mind. As I said, the BCI 25999, those are the UK standards, are the ones that define business continuity plan for food companies specific. And it is important to select critical activities. They define them, for example, as the ability to capture customer orders for products within 24 hours of a crisis, the ability to deliver to the customer orders for products within 48 hours, and to be able to pay creditors and invoice customers with 1 week after the crisis. Those are some criteria, some KPIs that are set up by the British standards for food companies, but of course, everybody can define its own based on their business impact analysis. Again, we concentrate in 8 generic business disruptive scenarios when we're dealing with food: loss of key staff, denial of access to the office due to a fire or a flood or terrorism, loss of power to the office or to the production facility, loss of data as a hacker's attack, loss of communications as a power disruption, loss of key equipment or machinery as a breakdown of a critical machine that needs to be repaired. Thus, that as well is an issue of a continuity business plan. Loss of transportation or warehousing or distribution that has to deal with how your product is being moved. And of course, don't forget the loss of reputation, which is an issue as well. Now, if we are talking about more specifically about the biomass supply chains, those might involve forestry or perennial crops consisting of cultivation, harvesting, processing, storage, and transportation. As you see in the slide, moving from your biomass resource to the market, this is the line that you might have issues, and the issues can be biomass availability. Think of having the biomass of somebody else, you have it as a raw material, and if you don't have enough, you cannot produce, so you cannot fulfill the market demand. The quality as well, that what you're getting as biomass from a third company and you're not producing yourself, might be varying as well. That's the issue when you have organic biomass issues. And of course, the logistics as well might be of an issue. Sorry. And what are the decisions that you need to take in the biomass supply chain? You have to act at the strategic level, at the tactical level, and the operational level. So the strategic level, when you're writing your business continuity plan, has to deal with the facility, its capacity, its type, its location, how close you are to your biomass producers, how many of them you have to your proximity, how your facility is organized in order to withstand physical disruptions. On a tactical level, you have to deal with issues like inventory planning or control, how much you're going to get in order to produce, how much of that will be stored, if it can be stored, and how much will be transported directly to your clients. And the operational level has to deal with inventory planning and fleet management in order to move your products out of your facilities. It's similar to that. I want to go to the business lump sum to be resilient. Who can apply? We have already said about that. First of all, you must be an SME. You must be in the food producing or processing company. You must be a member of a cluster organization that is registered in the European cluster platform. You must deal with the optimal use of the biomass, so you're not dealing with the full continuity business plan, but you're dealing with the part that is related to the optimal use of your biomass. And of course, we have to submit everything in English and due to the due dates. The business continuity plan and they will focus on critical points that are related to the optimum use of the biomass towards resilience. The project should take up to 6 months. You should be the owner of the business continuity plan. It should be, when we insist on that this should be a living document that would provide a step-by-step measure to take into consideration when you have a disruption in logistics, production, or raw materials. The eligible costs are staff costs, external experts, at least the minimum is 50% of the total project. And if there are any consumables, they need to be identified early in the project. And this can be related as database access in order to do your business impact analysis, which is an important part of the business continuity plan. The acceleration lump sums application procedure, you apply by the 1st of July. The projects will be evaluated during summertime and you'll be informed in the 1st of September. The contract should be signed by the end of September, and at that time you get 50% advance payment within a month from the contract, and you have to do and you don't have to do a midterm report. You're going to report the final continuity business plan, and after 1 month of the approval of the project, you'll get the remaining 50% of the project. Those are the places that you can find the addresses for the application procedure and the document to be filled for the SME eligibility. And as stated, the dates are July 1st for the first round, and then February 1st of 2024 for the second round. Thank you very much. I know that it was a little bit too fast. There are more information on the presentation that you can click on and read even more and get more information on how you're going to be building a business continuity plan. The issue today was just to give an overview of what is expected. And I'm here for anybody that wants to ask questions, have any concerns and any questions to be asked.
All right. I see there's one question in the chat. Johan?
Yeah. So, I mean, one item in the application form states that you have to prove that a BCP will be really implemented and that it will not be a fantasy document that will be put in a drawer, that it will be really implemented. Now, how can you prove something like that? That is my question.
Well, I think we cannot actually prove that. I think that it is more than how we say a way of persuading you that this should be a vivid document, and you should relate to that and do your review and your rehearsal for as long as you decide that this is an important document for you. Okay, it's not, most of the companies are reviewing their business continuity plan on a yearly basis. Okay, if changing or if there are sudden changes that long-term changes, but usually there is no way for us to control whether you have that as a vivid document. The only way that might be we might check that is whether you implement that within your business plan or your manual of operations of your company or your plant or your facilities. You're muted, John. You're muted.
So the only thing you can do in the application form is to mention that you really intend to do that you will communicate it to the people, etc.
Yes. Basically, it's up to you to figure out that this is an important document and you need to have. And again, it is very difficult for small companies to elaborate this a lot. Large companies probably they are dealing with it already. They have a business continuity plan. They might not name it as a business continuity plan. They might name it a risk assessment, a business a risk management, or things like that. But the idea of all these nominations is that you have a document that you can refer to it when something happens. You describe your reactions to some typical events like an earthquake, a flood, a fire, and then you have to do some risk analysis that is basically based on current situation, like the war in Ukraine and how this is extended and how the repercussions of this are to companies, to logistics, to sales. For example, a lot of companies stop selling to Russia, and that might create issues with their volume of sales if Russia was an important market for that. Okay, those are things that you have to deal on a yearly basis, and it's up to you whether you spend some time on this document.
Yeah, but the document all the time emphasizes that you should not deal with the business aspects, but only with the biomass aspects, with the optimal use of the feedstocks of the biomass, and not about selling or sales or whatever. I mean that
Yes.
is always that makes it a little bit confusing. That the name is business continuity plan, but basically it's more about the risks with the biomass and the feedstocks rather than with the business, the real business,
Yes.
like the sales and whatever. I mean,
Yeah, that's why we defined as well that sales and marketing are not are excluded from this business continuity plan. We have to focus on the processes that they are related to the biomass use. So, okay, this is that means, Johan, that this is a small part of the of the whole business, of your whole business continuity part. You are dealing only with a small part of it.
Okay, we have another question by Johnny.
Yes, thank you. Maybe partially you have already answered my two questions actually, but one was if in case of a company like mine, where the biomass valorization is not the only activity, should the business continuity plan regard the whole activity of a company? When you talk about reputation, you talk about data loss or things like that, or should it be restricted? I mean, in this call, only to the biomass part of the business. And the second question is, it looks that it is very much something which is restricted to products which are already on the market or anyhow industrially produced, not for something which is still at TRL, I know, 7 or 8 even, but something which is already under production. Is it correct, or is it possible for those who are developing or ending the development of a innovative biomass byproduct to figure out a business continuity plan?
Well, the answer of your first question is for this call we have to focus only on the optimal use of biomass. So we're not talking about all the reputation, all these issues that should be related on a business continuity plan. As I said before, this is a small step on creating a continuity plan for the biomass use, and then you can adapt this process to the full scale of your company. Now, if we are talking usually, yes, we are talking about products that they are already into the market, and that's why we are talking about a business continuity. That means that you have to continue producing, but again, even for a company that is in the process of developing a project, which is a TRL 7 or 8, it's not yet in the market, but it is almost there. That means that probably you have imagined how you're going to produce it, mass produce it, okay? So you can still create a continuity plan based on the fact that your production or your process is 90% in place or 80% in place. Because if you have, I don't know, from what I remember from Celia, you're into the grape business. So if you are, am I right? I think. So if you are producing something like an oil, an extract that is an oil from the remaining of the grapes, and you are at 80% of establishing the manufacturing or the mass manufacturing of that, probably you are aware of the equipment that you're going to use in your production line. So I think that you can still create this continuity plan for this process, even if the product is not yet into the market. And I think that we are going to accept that, because for me it is a process from a company that is about to bring something to the market, and risks are still there. Biomass related issues. I don't know, maybe you have a specific grape that you are going to make the extracts from it. If you don't have, for example, enough production this year with all this rain or with all this heat, I don't know. This is an issue. It's a risk for you that you want to produce your oil in September, for example. You've planned producing going into mass production in September or early next year. this is a risk. Because why? Because we are not going to have available biomass quantity that you require for your manufacturing process. So for me, and as I'm going to evaluate as well as my other colleagues, I think that this is, for me, it's acceptable to see a continuity plan even for the product that is not yet in the market. It looks like somebody is actually thinking fast forward on the risks of his business, and he's analyzing that for himself.
All right, thank you, Theo. Are there any other questions? Okay, I don't think so. So then we can close the webinar. Thank you all for participating. And hopefully we can see your projects in the summer to evaluate.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much for being there.
Yeah.
Bye.